doesn't mean anything to minorities. The percentage and inflation, and here's the percentage. Nah. How much does gas cost? How much does the groceries cost, okay? How much does rent cost? How much does my mortgage cost? That's what folks pay attention to, what's actually in their wallet.
Stephen A. Smith is making his rounds from liberal show to liberal show. First, he was on Bill Maher talking to him about how Trump isn't racist, and now he's on The View doing the same thing. Obviously, The View's not going to want to hear it because they've been spouting that he is for the last forever. But still, it's very entertaining to see. But before we get into that, make sure that you're subscribed to RTM News, liking, sharing, and engaging with our videos because we know you love it and we love to give it to you. And it ensures to YouTube that you are enjoying it as well, and it will show up in your feed continually and then push it out to more people. So let's get into this video.
You said you were, way back in 2016, before Trump ran for president, you were friendly with him because he's really into sports. And you said that the fact that he's a sports guy, which I didn't realize because I don't think of sports when I look at him, but I'm not even being snarky. I just don't think of a sports guy.
What about riding around a golf court? Doesn't that count?
Right. But you, on the other hand, I get, you said that being a sports guy helped him.
Well,
what did you mean by that?
Because what happened is that a lot of African Americans, Latinos, and others, we associated ourselves with him because he would host fights at Trump casinos. He would show up at basketball games and stuff like that. So there was a lot of things that he showed during his time as president that we never saw. Okay, and me personally, I was one of the few that had communicated with him in 2014. This is a true story, and I've said this publicly on several occasions. Donald Trump called me, and he wanted to purchase the Buffalo Bills. And the price tag was at about $1.4 billion at that time. He had about $1.1 billion.
He did?
And that's what he said. That's what they said.
What he said.
I'm just telling you what they said.
Why did who was that? Joy or Sonny? He did. He had the billionaire had $1.1 billion to be able to buy a team, a sports team. Like trying to put a seed of doubt in every one of the viewers because they've been spouting the nonsense. He's a failed businessman. He's gone bankrupt 6 times. It doesn't matter. You've gone bankrupt 6 times if you are still a billionaire. You have multiple billions. It wouldn't matter if you went bankrupt 6 times and you were a billionaire and you got brought down to a millionaire. You're still loaded. You just try and diminish his success and accomplishments solely because of your hatred and disdain for a man who all of your reasons for hating him are not founded in reality. It's just like conjured up stuff that you guys have created, the mainstream media and these liberal talk shows, and you just can't fathom the fact that, yes, he's a successful man who, yes, has $1.1 billion available to buy, at the time, to buy a popular sports team. So, or I don't know if they were popular at the time, but a sports team, nonetheless. So, it's just so freaking annoying. And then the whole little dig she gave at him, like, oh, he just doesn't seem like a sports guy. Oh, I'm not trying to be snarky. Yes, you are. Your tone of voice says otherwise. Like, oh, I didn't know he was a sports guy. That was surprising to hear. I didn't think he was a sports guy. You know what you're doing. You're not stupid. Nobody's falling. Or you are stupid. Nobody's falling for that.
What I was told. And he called me and he said, I'm trying to buy the Bills, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, quote, Stephen A., if them get in my way, I'm going to get them all back. I'm going to run for president. That's exactly what he said. And so when I tell this story to folks in the NFL, they said, so it's our fault. And I said, basically, then I joke around about it. But obviously, they felt the way that they felt. But he was a guy that really ingratiated himself with a lot of different communities and what have you. And so some of the things that we saw in an effort for him to appeal to his base, per se, we didn't see that. And we never got that impression from him. And the reason why that's so important is that when you've seen others come out and, dare I say, maybe not in support of him, but they didn't excoriate him to the degree that others may have preferred us to do so on the left, we deduced it to he's saying whatever it takes to cater to that base to get himself elected because he will do what's expedient. So if you show him that I'll get votes this way, he doesn't care. He'll deal with the fallout later. The objective for him is to win first and then address things later on. That's always been his MO, and that's what we've seen.
I believe that to a degree. I think he does do things that he knows will cater to a base and fuel them and get them excited or passionate about something, but I don't think he doesn't mean it. Like when it comes to the lack of security at our border, that is something that is a genuine concern to a lot of Americans, and I think he's the one that made it such a big deal. I don't think he only did that because he thought it was going to appeal to people, although it does because we want to be safe and secure in our own country. When it comes to the economy, this man is literally clearly an economical phenomenon with out of the he's part of the 1%. Not many people are that knowledgeable on how the economy works and how to create success and business and all that stuff. So, yes, he's in a way catering to a base of people, but at the same time, that base is the American people who just want to live a better life. So I don't think, and I think his personality is personality. I don't think he's changed at all. I genuinely don't think he's running those circles that you were with him and Stephen A. And then he just switched up completely the other way around, because I've actually heard from other people that knew him is he's always been this way. You guys he wasn't running for president, and our culture hadn't gotten so wokeified in the past, in the 80s and 90s when he was really popping, and even early 2000s, you could say things that now would get you canceled. So it's a little different. I don't think that he's catering to a base as much as just being himself. And the culture has shifted so wokely that it was hard for them to digest the person that is Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to what you said about Black men being very comfortable with matriarchy. And I agree with that because, Black households are often led by a grandmother,
yes.
Black grandmother or Black mother. However, 55% of Latino men voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think that economically, they were looking at things. First of all, in this country, you've got Cubans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Guatemalans, Venezuelans, Colombians, et cetera, et cetera. And if you talk to the Hispanic community, depending on who you're talking to, they think differently. The Cubans think differently than the Dominicans. The Dominicans think different than Colombians. Right. To some, the economy was a priority. To some, believe it or not, it was the border. Yeah. You had some folks within the Hispanic populace that were encouraging the borders to be closed.
They want to pull the.
But here's why that's so imperative. It's so important. Because we're not Latinos. They're telling you that's what we want. Yeah. We had to stay online. We had to be online in order to get in. Who are you to bypass the line? And one of my friends, I remember he used this analogy, and I never forget this as long as I live. He said, "You like Six Flags, you go to Great Adventures?" I said, "I have." He said, "Sure, Disney World?" "Sure, I have. Of course I have." He said, "So you stand in line, Take about 2 hours to get on some of these rides because they're that popular." He said, "And right before it's time for you to get on that line, somebody jumped in front of you. What you gonna do?" And he said that kind of mentality is how you have folks within the Latino, within the Hispanic community, some of them, not all, but some of them who view immigration that way. So again, when you think about the economics, when you think about immigration, those two things are what I have found has influenced the Hispanic vote one way or the other.
Yeah, it's almost like everything you said about him trying to cater to the base and saying things, all that is mute now because you just pointed out the reasons for why not only us as Americans wanted him as president because of economics, because of the border, the people that came here, I'd be infuriated if I was an illegal, not illegal, I was a legal immigrant who came to this country legally. And I went through all this work. I'm waiting in line, going through the proper legal port of entry, and you see people just crossing, living a life, living their best life, just doing whatever they want, not being documented, doing all the underhanded deals, whatever. And I'm not saying these people are living necessarily lavish lifestyles, although the government has made some people be able to live very comfortably. That would be so frustrating to see that I'm doing this the right way, and they get to reap the benefits of of all the hard work I'm trying to put in to get to where they are illegally. They get to sit there and be there now and live this nice lifestyle. I came here from my family. I came from a rough upbringing. I came from a rough country where things were going on really bad there, but I knew to go about it the right way. That's real. And they have every right to be frustrated with them because they're right. You can't come here illegally. That's a problem. Sorry. Not really, though.
So the assault on Puerto Rico, calling it a garbage island, didn't really affect
I think it didn't matter as much as in Allentown and in Philadelphia.
No, that didn't matter as much, especially when you look at bigger meaning on what he was saying, at least from what I've been told, because there actually is a garbage issue in Puerto Rico. But this is what you don't understand. 90% of Americans, maybe that's not a completely accurate statistic, do not care about jokes. If there's a comedian up there on stage saying insulting things, that's why millions of people tune in to watch people get roasted. They like watching things that are edgy, off the cuff, funny, but kind of true maybe, or whatever. It's just you guys, oh man, people don't care. You tried to blow that out of proportion, and if anything, that probably helped Trump even more. It's all right, can you guys stop? You're grasping at straws, and it's so embarrassing to watch. But the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, but like you said, I'm Puerto Rican, right? So the Hispanic community is not a monolith.
Absolutely.
I agree with you.
Right.
And a lot of, I think, people that are of Hispanic origin from, let's say, South America or Central America, they're willing to close the door behind them instead of letting somebody else
The
in.
other important thing to
Nope. That's a hater thing to say. He used the analogy of how a lot of people, and even the Six Flags analogy, you're in line, you've been waiting for hours, and then somebody just comes and cuts in front of you. When they didn't have a fast pass, they just cut in front of you because they wanted to. And it's against the rules to do so. And they did it anyway. And then you try and flip it on its head and say, yeah, a lot of people are like that. It's not a monolith here in the Hispanic community. Sometimes you go through the door and you close the door behind you. Whoa, that's not what was said. As a matter of fact, the door was open to come through legally, and these people cut in front, not only cut in front, but just created they didn't even go through the door. They grabbed a jackhammer and made a hole through the wall so that they could go in and beat you to it illegally. Like, it's not the same. That's so disingenuous. I can't stand Sonny, man. She's really just so fake. And look at her face. She knows she's lying too.
recognizes this, and I've said this often. When we look at the economy, I remember when Biden came into the office, he inherited about 1.5% inflation. It ballooned to about 9.1% before it ultimately came down to where it is now, right? That doesn't mean anything to minorities. The percentage of inflation, and here's the percentage. Nah. How much does gas cost? How much does the groceries cost, okay? How much does rent cost? How much does my mortgage cost? That's what folks pay attention to, what's actually in their wallet. And I often hearken to the sport of baseball in this regard, when you had people looking at numbers in baseball and they say, how come the black representation, how come the numbers are not larger? Well, historically, black folks don't trust the system. So if you can go into the NBA at the age of 19, if you got to do 2 years in college to play football before you go pro, well, in baseball, yeah, you could get drafted, but you got to go through AAA, AA, single A, that kind of thing, before you hope they bring you into the sport of baseball. Well, that's a time issue where I have to literally trust that you ultimately will see my progress and you will reward me accordingly. I don't know too many minorities that want to trust the system. And so when people speak, although you're right and righteous with your emotion and your righteous indignation, other people are saying we have the right to have righteous indignation when it comes to our pocket, or when it comes to our lifestyle, or when it comes to our environment. If we see crimes in the streets and stuff like that, we see homelessness and it's ballooned, we got a problem with that, and we don't believe this person is the answer compared to that. So what? They might have insulted a bunch of people. We don't like it, we hate it, but in the end, it's not more important than my pocketbook or my lifestyle. But you know what?
That's the thing. You're doing all that self-righteous stuff, trying to sit there and, oh, you voted for cheaper groceries at the expense of your daughter's rights. It's like, no, first of all, you're talking about killing a child, so it's not even close to being the same thing. But also, yeah, people are inherently like selfish to a degree, and what's going to benefit me, or not even just selfish towards themselves, but like selfish towards their kids and making sure that they have a good livelihood. Yeah, I will vote for the guy who makes fun of Rosie O'Donnell being fat, but is going to make everything less expensive for us, put more money back in our pockets, and then also secure our border, make sure we're safe, so a Laken Riley situation doesn't happen again. Yeah, I'll vote for that guy who called her a fat, whatever, annoying individual, which she is. So it's just like, yeah, he's right. People don't care. You guys want to blow things out of proportion and flip the lid because he said something offensive. We don't care. Do I think you should be a mean person? No. But like, you guys are dragging it so hard, and like the things you say about him are like 10 times worse than anything said about anybody else. But Stephen A's cooking The View right now, and they don't even know how. They're like malfunctioning. Oh, yeah, but what about Puerto Rico joke? Like, shut up.
That doesn't mean that we should not continue to educate ourselves to how our pocketbooks got to it. And that's the problem. That's what you were talking about. That fringe thing, if you don't know why your stuff is gone, do your homework. But you know what? That takes time, and it requires you to commit to do that work to figure it out.
And
they're not going to do it.
Most people are not going to do
No.
Why do I feel like Stephen A was fed up with them? He said, all right, yeah, bet, for sure, bet, yeah, that's right, Whoopi, that's right. Yeah, everything went in one ear and out the other. Y'all just want to sit there and do your thing. Hey, this is what you're getting paid millions of dollars for, because the economy's not really affecting you in a negative light. It's like, yeah, maybe you're losing a few dollars here and there. But you have millions of dollars to spare, so it's fine. But the American people, they're over it. They don't want to deal with what we have been. And so that's why Trump won, and that's why we're so grateful for it. And I'm glad that Stephen A is going from show to show, these liberal shows, and waking them up to reality. It's up to them whether they want to accept that awakenness, but whatever. we're winning. We're still winning as a country, so that's all that matters. With that being said, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Comment down your thoughts below. I want to know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.